I want to talk about fluidity tonight, and in personality sculpting. And this is a blast, and this is one of those topics that I think most of us can, or you'll be able to relate to, I think. And yet, my heart in it is for you to realize that you've been doing this, but only to a small degree, so that it can expand. So last week I was talking about the choice, right? So we're learning that we have a choice in our personality, in the characters that we play, in the roles that we play. That this is a choice, that it's not so much something that's been given to you, that now this is just the way that you are, you've been programmed this way, you've been mentally conditioned to act in this way, but that you actually do have a choice in the matter to play within the characters and the roles and to enjoy them. So like I said last week, you can't carry, if you're carrying burdens in, the burden of identity in, then the choice gets hampered. The same thing is true with fluidity. So I want you to picture fluidity within personality sculpting is moving from character to character seamlessly. So I want you, if you'll think in your existence, how many different roles have you played? How many different characters have you played in your life? How many different roles have you played? The people play the role of father, of mother, husband, wife, lover, play the role of friend, play the role of teacher. Right now I'm playing the role of teacher. You know, you can play lots of different roles, and you can play all those roles as a certain character. Most people think in terms of personhood. I am this person that has this role, that functions in this role. Very few recognize that the person is a character that's being played. In other words, you are the divine manifestation, the divine essence that's playing a role, that's playing a character. That all of these experiences that we're having are the experience of personhood. If you identify as the person, now you're limited. If you identify as the person, then every role that you play is the same character. So let me put it this way. Most of us are conditioned already to experience life through a very specific lens, and that lens is, when you go out, this is kind of the guy that I am, right? This is who I am. This is the character that I am. Most people associate or identify as introvert or as extrovert. We carry labels. Hey Evans, how are you? We carry labels and identities, and we actually believe that's who we are. Now, a lot of those beliefs by this point have been shaken free. You fully realize that that's not who you are. And yet sometimes we still find ourselves just playing this one character in this play called life, in this extravagant movie called life. Picture for yourself a movie. And if you were to take on a role, a character, you're going to be contracted to play a character in a movie. And that character has several different roles, several different functions within that movie, but they're very specific to the character. You don't play multiple characters in the same movie, right? Imagine they would, unless you're playing the character of a schizophrenic, you're not playing multiple characters in the same movie, or somebody with a personality disorder, you're not going to play multiple characters in the same movie. We want consistency. And yet in actual perceptual life, that's not the way it is at all. If you're hanging out with a bunch of kids, you act completely different than when you do if you're hanging out and going to the club, or you're hanging out with somebody, if you're spending time with your lover. That's a completely different vibe a lot of times. But I think for a lot of people, they actually carry one vibe throughout the course of their life. one character is kind of played out through the course of their life. And when you are only carrying that one character around with you, then there's a lot of limitation upon what you're going to experience. Because every experience is perceptional, every experience is taking place in your mind. In John 3:8 it says, and the spiritual man is likened to the wind. You can hear the sound of him, you can feel the results, but you don't know where he comes from or where he goes. And that this is what the spiritual man looks like unto the wind. The spiritual man does not carry, hey Kaylee, the spiritual man does not carry around identity. If you carry around an identity, you're literally not like the wind. You're exact opposite of the wind. You're stuck. An identity imprisons you in physical form. This is who I am. Even the identity of male or female imprisons you in some way. The identity of this physical perceptional form imprisons you in some way. The identity of our sexuality can imprison us in some way. The identity, any identity, you name them. There is neither male nor female. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free, right? In singularity, there's just this essence, the spirit, that is then animating a physical form, a body. Now that body can have likes and dislikes, but you fully recognize that this is not me. Who I truly am neither has likes nor dislikes. Who I truly am is neither male nor female. Who I truly am is this animating force. And I'm playing a role, I'm playing a character, and I can play whatever characters I want. So fluidity is moving seamlessly from character to character. So many times I found myself many times when I first started realizing that this is not who I am, that this one personality type was not me. This is my personality. This is the way I am. Have you ever said that about yourself? You ever thought to yourself, this is just how I am? We all have, right? This is who I am. This is how I am. This is just the way I am. This is my MO. This is my mode of operation. This is just the way I work. This is just the way I think. I'm smart or I'm dumb. I'm not. We have all these thoughts and all these feelings, all these identities, and they're ultimately limiting our ability to really function. So what we do is we go from these places of observance into a place of choice, where we realize we're able to start making the choice of the character we want to play. If I want to play the character of father, I play the character of father. If I want to play the character of a lover, I can play the character of a lover. I can be super ultra sensual or sexual or whatever that looks like, and at the same time I could be super loving and fatherly. And you can make these choices, but there's a certain point when all of a sudden you find that you can move fluidly through these characters. That you're not just one character. Now, I am not talking about bipolar disorder. I'm not talking about up and down, where one minute I'm like, oh, I'm super active and I'm going and I'm feeling super high and good, and the next minute I'm in the dirt and I'm feeling awful and I'm depressed. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about your mood. I'm talking about personality. I'm talking about the character. You can be super chill, and then the next minute you're playing the role of like super energetic and just in your face energy, cheerleader type, or whatever. Like, you can play whatever role you want, and fluidity is moving seamlessly through those roles. In order to fluidly move from role to role and character to character, there cannot be identity. Because when identity gets involved, the wind never carries a burden. All right, the wind never carries a burden. If identity is involved, then what happens is that identity limits or restricts the expression, the new expression. I'll give you a couple examples. If you're a husband, then it's very difficult to play the role of lover. You can play the role of lover with your wife, but societally speaking, conditionally speaking, you can't play the role of lover with someone else. Right? And so my example is this. If I am husband and I have identified as husband, then I'm very limited in my expression within that character, that pole. I can't really go and fluidly move from the role of husband to the role of lover, or an open lover. You can't do that. Societally, you can't do that. That role or that identity is ultimately restricting my expression. Does this make sense? You feeling what I'm saying? So we do this all the time in our commitments, we lock people down into certain, we hamstring them and we kind of lock them up into certain, with certain rules and limitations. And so we're keeping them imprisoned in some way. Identity limits fluidity. When you have an identity, you can only move within the boundaries and the laws that come with that identity. So each and every identity that you have, if you're a father or a mother and you identify as that's an identity. It's not just a role and a character you're playing, but an identity. Then what happens is you want to be a good father or a good mother, right? And this is my identity. So if you have a moment and you raise your voice at your kids, now you're beating yourself up because I'm a bad mother or I'm a bad father. Now, as a father, there's been moments where I raised my voice. They're few and far between, but there's been moments where I raised my voice. I have not felt bad about that. However, if you were to talk to Beth, she's not able to make it to class tonight, but if you were to talk to Beth, the moments where she's raised her voice, she's felt horrible about it because in some way in the past she had identified as mom. I am mom. And so I screwed up. I'm not a good mom. And now she carries shame. And there are certain rules that come along with being a mom, societal conditioning that says we're supposed to act in this way as a mother or as a father, as a husband, as a wife, as a lover, whatever. This is how you're supposed to act. This is how it's supposed to look. And so in essence, we live under those unspoken rules, and those unspoken rules keep us from being able to express ourselves outside of that. Now, each person that comes to Ekstasis Institute, the vast majority of them are already willingly probably coloring outside the lines a bit. People don't typically come to these classes that are super in the box, obviously. They're already a little bit outside of the box, but what they don't realize is that there's still a lot of unspoken rules and still a lot of societal conditioning and a lot of identity that they can still step out of so that they can play fully within that form and play using that avatar on the playground in absolute perfection, without any restraint. Completely immune to law. This is what freedom is. Immunity to law, like you're immune. It doesn't exist to you. I've had even conversations this week in which trying to figure out, like Beth has talked to me about trying to figure out or be careful with the way that I'm being worried and with the way that I might express myself to somebody, and because it might impact them in a negative way. And she said, speaking of this lady that I've been my friend here in the hospital, and she said, I don't want her to read into something or think something. I don't want it to end up hurting her. And my response to Beth was, and has been this, I've been hearing this for years. Austin knows. I've had many people come to me and say, like, Silas, the way that you love people is hurting people. Because ultimately they end up wanting more from you than you give, or they end up having some sort of expectation or thinking in some way about you, and they miss the point. I've been told for years you can't be friends with the people that you teach. You can't have intimate relationships with the people you teach. You can't do things. And the bottom line is none of that's true. That's societal conditioning. That's the kind of conditioning that says this is the way it's supposed to look, and this is what it has looked like in the past, and this is what we're supposed to do. And the problem with that is this: I live very present. if you don't live present, now I'm supposed to stop living as present as I do to worry about whether or not you're living present. Because if you don't live present and I am living present, then I could be fully in this moment, but you're going to try to carry that moment into the non-existent future and attach to that. And now you're going to get hurt because I'm present and I wasn't attaching, but now you are attaching. That's kind of the point. So see, when you carry an identity, that identity is always trying to attach to things. If you're attaching to something, you can't move fluidly from character to character and role to role. Are you guys following me? I know I kind of I diverted and took a little rabbit trail to get here, but I'm trying to make a point. We have all these unspoken rules and laws, and I'm saying to Beth and to everyone, you know, I keep reemphasizing, no, it's my freedom. It's the way in which I live my life and express love and do the thing. It's this freedom. I'm not thinking about it. I don't have an agenda. I have no agenda in life. I'm freely flowing through life, existing in the moment, and I am not going to backspace or edit my existence so as to fit into the box of societal conditioning. Not gonna do it. And I'm willing for the person somebody else, if that affects them, I'm not afraid of that, because that's not even ultimate reality. The experiences we have aren't ultimate reality. They're perceptional. The characters that you play are perceptional. Who Kaylee thinks she is just perception. Austin, who you think you are is just a perception. And if the thoughts that you have about yourself, I guarantee you your sister sees you quite a bit different than the way you see yourself. I'm sure that there are some similarities. And then if you were to talk to people at work, I'm sure they see you very different than you see yourself. And maybe you've played a character long enough that they see you very, very similar to the way you see yourself. But how boring does it get just playing one character for an entire lifetime? I'll tell you how boring it gets. We end up with some mental problems, and we end up really bored off our asses, and we end up thinking that buying a little boat and collecting seashells is the win, you know, like this is where it's at. Collecting seashells, having a seashell collection just before I die, this is what it's all about. And it really is quite insane to think about what our culture has said is exciting. You know, like we're gonna work all of our lives so that we can retire with a few $100,000 in the bank, and that's like this is who I am. It's boring. It's boring. It's the divine expression, the incarnation, was not meant to fill one person. It's meant, think about your true nature for a second. Essence, the space in which all things exist, is manifesting in billions of avatars. Billions. That's how unboring God is. This is how thrilling, enthralling God is. That it would manifest in billions of avatars. Now, out of all those billions of avatars, there are not many who truly realize what they are. Beyond the form, they've identified. They're living in a world of duality, identifying, and so they're not capable of understanding. That's why this is controversial. If you were to talk to a psychologist who just studies persons, they say this isn't right. See, church is meant for persons. Religions are meant for persons. We're going to try to take the person and we're trying to make them better. We're going to give you a bunch of things to do that if you do these things, you can become a better person. Everything that I'm about is setting you free from personhood, so that you can realize what you really are and play fully within the person and within whatever person, whatever character you want to play. There's an enormous difference between seeing your manifestations as a character that plays various roles, or seeing that thing as yourself. So there's an enormous difference between Austin, you seeing yourself as Austin, like this is who I am, in seeing the various characters that this form might play and the various roles that this form might play. For instance, if you identify, you get a big engineering job at NASA and you identify as the NASA engineer, now you're very boring. You know, like one of the things that you want to do while you do that is because that excites you. It's fun. It's challenging. You love a challenge, right? Am I right? Right. But if you identify as that, I guarantee you'll be wanting to escape so hard after a couple years. You'll be calling me on the phone, Silas, I need some help escaping this misery that I'm in, you know, like this is not who I'm, because you've realized too much about who you are, that these are just characters, these are roles that you're playing. Engineer would be a role that you played, but it's not who you are. It might be a role that you dedicate countless hours to throughout your week, but it would still just be a role. Now, if you were operating as an engineer and you had a girlfriend, you wouldn't go back home to your girlfriend but still be operating as engineer, because your girlfriend doesn't want an engineer. You know, she doesn't want you to treat her like a project, like an engineering project. Am I making sense? Okay, that would be awful. That would not be fun at all. And so my point is simple. You got two different roles that one character's playing. But are you Austin? Are you this character? Now in relationships, this gets challenging because people attach to one idea. This is, if you ask Beth, this has been the number one challenge of our relationship together, is that she has over the years gotten attached to an idea of who Silas is. And then Silas changes. And Silas is something else. And then Silas is this. Like we went to a country concert last year, whenever it was, and I said, all right, I'm gonna play the role of country guy. You know, wore cowboy boots, and I'm just playing a role, playing a character. Not who I am. I personally don't enjoy country music a whole bunch, but I had a blast at that country music concert, right? I enjoyed it. But we're playing roles, playing characters, not who we are. When we identify, you cannot move fluidly. This is impossible to have an identity, even if it's an identity as a male or a female. If you are truly in that identity, it will limit the roles that you are able to fluidly move through. Let me give you an example. The difference is, it would be the difference of a stream and the ocean. A stream has boundaries, clear-cut boundaries. There are tons of different manifestations of the way a stream will manifest or a river will manifest. You have rapids in some spots, and you have still tranquil waters in others. Like it changes, but it's still within the boundary. It's still within its boundaries. The ocean has a boundary, but it's enormous. When you sit on the edge of the ocean, you can't see the other side. You can't see the boundaries, but you can sit on the edge of a river and it's very clear where those boundaries are, isn't it? With most of the roles we play, we can clearly see some of the boundaries. As soon as you sign up for a role, there's boundaries. There's rules, aren't there? When you're playing the role of daughter, there's clear rules. Boundaries. If you're playing the role of husband or wife or whatever that role is, there's clear-cut boundaries. This is the way you're supposed to look. If you play the role of male, now there's these boundaries, societal boundaries that say you're supposed to be masculine. This is what a man looks like. Am I right? Are you following me? If you're playing, I'll come right to you, Kaylee. If you can recognize the ocean is manifesting in countless ways. Every single second, a wave crashes, and then a new wave forms. And we don't identify the ocean by the wave, but when we talk about the wave, we speak of it as if it is a completely different entity than the ocean itself, and yet a wave is just the ocean's manifestation. It comes, and then it goes, it crashes, and we'll never see that wave again, will we? The wave comes, it's a beautiful wave, it crashes, and another wave is coming behind it, and it's not only crashing on the one shore that you can perceive, but it's actually crashing on millions of shores all around you. Millions of people are enjoying the ocean, and they're seeing all kinds of different manifestations of that same ocean. And in some way, you are actually experiencing And you are meant to be able to fluidly move like that, from wave to wave, from expression to expression, without ever getting caught in the trap of identity. You can't find the boundaries on the ocean in the same way. It's just expressing itself. The depths of the ocean are enormous. The depths of a river are limited. If you are a stream, you've taken on an identity, then that's what you feel like. You feel like a stream with very limited boundaries. And maybe from time to time a crazy rain comes and you are able to break free of those boundaries a bit, and you flow outside of those boundaries a bit, but then shortly after you come back in right into those boundaries. But the ocean, it's limitless, isn't it? It's huge. Now obviously it does have boundaries, but for the sake of this, let's think about the ocean as kind of a boundaryless body of water. Okay? There are no limitations upon it. It is just continually manifesting in a different way, over and over and over and over and over. This is the beauty of fluidity, moving from one character to the next. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, in details, about what this looks like in a second. But Kaylee, go ahead. You had your hand raised. Kaylee? Never mind?
I was just gonna ask, like, yeah, never mind.
That was a great question. Thank you. Go ahead, Austin. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you've been talking about if you carry burdens, it will shape your decisions being made. So I was talking to a table at work today, and they were talking to me. We got on spirituality, and I was telling them how I do some media work and stuff. And they were like, well, how do you deal with people in this area not being like-minded or not being into it and stuff? Basically, instead of listening to my answer, it's like, I don't really care. They kind of went, well, maybe you can find people in Charlottesville or whatever, just like the big town next door. Like it was like the whole way that they perceived me was me searching for people to connect with, even though that wasn't necessarily what I replied at all.
Right.
So it got me thinking that, like, I guess what a lot of people see as spirituality would be a collection of beliefs that they then it's compartmentalized or feels compartmentalized, and they try to apply it to other areas of their life. So like, you become a newly saved Christian, you are now trying to apply this that you're learning here to all other areas of your life. So you have to treat people certain ways, you have to do this, you can't treat people this way, you have to treat people holy. So it's I don't know, it seemed to me that that's kind of what I guess a lot of spirituality is just an application of a belief system to all areas of your life, I guess. Actually, never mind.
No, that's great. I love those thoughts, because that what that is, what we call spirituality is really more what I would speak of more of as a religious thing. When if we have an identity, this is who I am. Now I am spiritual. That can be an identity. One of the fifth element of ego, the fifth part of ego or element of aspect of ego is consciousness, or like spirituality, like the idea of who we are. We believe that we're conscious. That's still ego. So what we need to recognize is the person is always trying to identify. Well, I identify as a spiritual person. You know, people come to me all the time. The nurse that was calling me Fabio earlier today, she said, well, what do you do? And I told her I was a self-realization teacher, and she looked at me with give me the side look, like I don't know what that is. And so I started sharing with her a little bit of what that is. And she goes, oh, well, that's way deeper than what Fabio would go. You know, like in her mind, this is some sort of belief structure, even though I told her my heart is to introduce you to who you are beyond belief structures. Immediately in her mind, a lot of that is conceptualized. And as soon as it's conceptualized, it turns into a belief structure on its all to itself. That's the person that's attaching to this idea. I am spiritual, or I need to grasp something. But the selfless self doesn't do that. It's completely free-flowing. The selfless self is the one that's fluidly moving from character to character. I want you to recognize you're doing it, whether you're doing it in this one form or not, you're doing it. Right now, within this class, and I'm not entirely sure where everyone is tonight, that's absolutely okay. There's only a few of us here tonight. But right now within this class, there's 5 of us, and there's actually one of us manifesting in 5 beautiful, unique forms right now. One is not better than the other. One, we're just all very different, but it's the same essence rising in different expressions, like the ocean crashing and rising as a wave, and then crashing as a wave, and so on and so forth. And so here's the deal: we don't need to attach to one personality, to one expression for ourselves or for anyone else. I'm here visiting Monica at the hospital. I don't want to go back in after class tonight and expect the same thing. In her mind, maybe she will expect the exact same Silas that walked out of there. But what if a different expression rises? Right? And if you are not limiting the expression because you're no longer identifying as one thing, now you can play within the form. You've experienced me enough to see all kinds of different sides, all kinds of different characters that I've played, right? And I think you're aware enough to tell when I'm playing different characters. All right? And so like the character last night's character, I love playing that. I'm out on the town, we went out, did a few brewery hops. We're hopping from brewery to brewery. I have a blast just picking on people, harassing people, just playing this character, whatever character that is. I like playing. It's fun to play. It's not who I am. Was I playing super ultra spiritual guru Silas last night? No. The character, and a lot of times what you guys will see in class, and the reason why people have a hard time is because even within the classes, I will fluidly move from character to character. You might see the persona of a spiritual guru type of being in front of you, and then Kevin, how many classes then do I jump right into just wild? And I'm trying to see how many times I can get the word penis into a class, and I'm trying to, I'm just playing and having fun and goofing around. Well, that's a fluid movement of characters. If I was just playing the character of, if this is who I am super ultra spiritual guru. When I was pastoring back in my Christian days, all those many, many years ago, I didn't do that. I was like, this was who I am. I'm pastor. This is serious business. I was limited because I had identified that this is who I am. I'm an ultra spiritual, Pentecostal, charismatic Christian. This is who I am. And I'm so thankful that Jesus came to set me free from Christianity. I'm so thankful that he encountered me and set me free from those limitations. And so you'll see in classes, and if you're observing at all, aware at all, you can see how I fluidly move from the various characters. I can play 2, 3, 4, 5 different characters in one class. I'm playing the one role of teacher, but I'm kind of moving in and out of the various characters. One is not better than the other. But I'm not super spiritual, ultra Silas. That's not who I am. That's just a role that I play. It's just a character. Just a character. That's not even, and a lot of times what we do is we identify, Austin, to your point, we identify by these characters, by this character we play, and so in some way then we're very limited. If I identify as spiritual, now I'm walking around all the time and I'm very spiritual. That looks a certain way, doesn't it? If you conceptualize what spiritual is, we think that it looks a certain way. Is the surfer dude that thinks surfing on the ocean is a spiritual moment, is he less spiritual than the Hindu that's been meditating for the last 3 years? No, man. It's all spiritual. But in our minds, we're trying to separate the characters. We think that this is the Buddha looks spiritual. if you've actually read any of the Buddha's works and writings, you actually find, oh wow, this guy was a character, you know? This guy was a character. In Hinduism, some of the ideas of God in Hinduism are this, you know, Shiva is this God with like 10 arms because he's quite the character. He's the destroyer, and you can be the destroyer of all that is not and simultaneously be the one giving birth to all that is. Like it's because there's all these different roles and characters that we're playing within this space. Spirituality is what people do with spirituality now is it's turned into a belief structure. Well, these are the things that I believe. If you were to say I'm a spiritual person, they say, oh yeah, what do you believe? If you say I have no beliefs, they don't think you're a spiritual person, they think you're an atheist. Because everything is conceptualized. But in actuality, what I would refer to as a spiritual thing would be the freedom from beliefs. You can play within those beliefs, but who I truly am not limited by them. I can play within them, but I'm not limited by them. And this is not something that the ego can understand. One that is identified in a certain way cannot comprehend what I just said to you. It's impossible. If you are strongly identified in one way, you can't comprehend that because you are a belief. I know, but I believe I am this. I am this. This is who I am. Don't tell me that that's not who I am. An offense comes. It's as if the moment that you try to set somebody free from their beliefs, as if the whole world is shattering. Everything that they have hung their hat upon is crumbling. But what is emerging from all of that crumble, all of those shards and all of the dirt and what emerges is just essence, It's just pure essence, singular essence. And now I can play again, I can move back and forth within the characters. So here's what happens. You move from a place of observance into a place of choice where you start to recognize that the characters you're playing really are a choice. And this place, a lot of times, people will start to find like they'll get ultra spiritual. Austin, you've experienced this. I know I have. I know probably many of you have, where you begin to feel like some of your personality is dwindling away. It's like shrinking away. And I've gone through many moments over the years where I was so in like cave mode, where I would go away and I felt like I was in a cave, and it was just I was so meditative that it felt like all personality was gone from me. I was just very low key, you know. And only then to come out of that, recognizing that I was dangerously close to identifying as I am low key. I'm experiencing this is what I'm becoming. I am this spiritual, meditative being. But in actuality, I'm much more. Now when I meditate, it's because I'm choosing to do that. I enjoy that. That's part of the playground and nothing more. Mindfulness is part of the playground and nothing more. You can either live chaotically or mindfully. Chaos is something that can be fun, but it's fun only for a very short moment. And then it becomes very tiresome, doesn't it? If you're going to play in chaos, but you better know you're playing. You better know you're playing, otherwise it's not fun at all. Does that make sense, Kaylee? Kaylee knows all about that. She's pointing her head. And so what I'm saying is we then will move into this place of choice where we begin to recognize we get to make choices on what we are going to play, what roles we're going to play. Kind of like an actor would make the choice on what role he wanted to play, what movie he wanted to play, what character he wanted to play. It's very similar to this. We get to make the decision. This is what I want to do. This is the character I want to play. This would be a fun character. Let's play that. And we begin to start playing these roles and these characters. Unfortunately, a lot of times we start to play a character, and we've been playing a character for so long that that's what we've identified as. When we break free of that, we start to willfully choose the characters and the roles we play. And then there's a point when you're able to play those characters, but you're not stuck in it. And there's not this like shift where now I'm playing this character and I got to come out of that character and try to really work my way back into this other character. It was Jim Carrey who said, and I've used this, I've told you this before, but he said he played a character in one of the movies that he played, and he got so lost in the character that he forgot who he was. And then when the movie was all done, it was as if he had become this character. And it took, I think he said, like 6 months. He went into depression. It took like 6 months for him to figure out who he was again. Well, what if he was none of those things, right? And he said, how thin is personhood, or how fragile is personhood if it can be lost so easily? And it's so true. You could hang out with certain people and completely, your personality could completely shift and change. You hang out with somebody long enough, all of a sudden you find that your person, the way that you talk, the way that you communicate shifts and changes. The language that you use will change. The way that you express yourself will change. And you're willingly choosing that just unknowingly. Now what should be happening is, in awareness, you should knowingly be choosing it. I choose this. I admire this person. That's what our mentorships are about. I admire this. This is what I want to do. This is something that I want to experience. This is something that I want to learn. And then we move into this place of fluidity where you're able to move free-flowingly, move from character to character and role to role. And this is very difficult. It's very difficult for people. And I'll use a personal example. And I wish Beth were here, but it can be very difficult for Beth to navigate the roles and understand that there's not a competition between when I love her and I'm being husband or what we know, we don't call each other husband and wife that much, but as much as life partner. If I'm being her life partner, there's not a when I'm loving her, I'm loving her, and there's no competition with anyone else. No, she's not in a competition with anyone else for my love and affection. When I'm loving her, I'm loving her. If I'm loving someone else, it's not because I don't love her. I can't love any other person in the exact same way that I could love her and express myself with her. Because she's a unique expression. She's a beautiful, perfect, unique expression, isn't she? Aren't each one of you? If I'm loving on Austin, that's not a competition. Now what we do is we have limits. And so Beth might say, well, it's okay that you love on Austin that way, but I don't want you loving on so-and-so that way because she's more easily. So she could say, it's okay that you love Austin that way, but you could never love Kaylee that way because if you were loving Kaylee that way, she's a woman and that would be different. And so now we place limitations, and now we're not free-flowing through like the ocean, expressing ourselves and living in this beautiful life of love and freedom. Now what we're doing is we're very limited. I'm so thankful to be with Beth and be in this, we have a life partner that not only celebrates me, but encourages. Have there been moments that it's been hard for her? Yes, but she encourages the expression of love. I'm in Roanoke right now with a beautiful friend who I dearly love and have experienced many beautiful, beautiful moments with, and she's had a hard time, and I'm here in Roanoke, and there's no competition with what I'm experiencing here with Monica and Beth. The roles that I'm playing are very different. The characters that I'm playing, I'm just flowing through. And I'm enjoying myself. When we can truly recognize singularity and union, then there is no more competition, there is no more fear, there is no fear in love. There's no fear in love, no competition in it. Do you understand what I'm saying right now? Are you following me? The more that you understand what I'm saying is this is a life artistry. This is about expressing yourself and learning how to express yourself freely. But in order to truly do that, you have to let go of the identity in the person. If I were to hang on to the identity as husband, I could not freely be an expression in any other way. Matter of fact, it wouldn't make a squat bit of difference what I'm sitting here doing with Monica. And we know she's in the hospital. Obviously, I'm not doing anything with Monica, but it wouldn't make any difference if I was spending time with her, just as an example. I'm using this as an example because societally speaking, married men aren't supposed to go and hang out with single females and spend the night with them at their hospital or anywhere, right? I've been by her bed, sleeping by her bed several nights in this hospital, just being with her. Married men aren't supposed to do that. And yet my example, I'm just using this as an example, there's a freedom of expression there. Well, artistry is about expression. Do you understand? that is an expression, an artistic expression, that if I identify by a certain role will keep me from being able to artistically express personhood to Monica, or to Kevin, or to Kaylee, or to Austin, or to Evans. This is the difference. And so what we do is we start to move. Now, every single one of you have probably at least, I want you to think right now of a couple of the characters or roles that you play. Each one of you probably have at least 2, maybe 3 characters. Now, when I say characters, I want you to think, are there moments when you seem uncharacteristically different than maybe the normal facade? The normal person. So Austin can sometimes appear to be very introverted, and yet there are moments when he is extremely extroverted and out there and just having fun. I've been with him in those moments. That's a different character, isn't it? Does that feel, when that happens, does that feel differently? When that begins to manifest, or you manifest as that character, do you feel it feels very different than like the normal flow of what people would consider Austin, right? Yeah. So that is a very different feeling. And is it fun? Is it fun to just be a little different and have a little, are those fun moments? Yeah, like even last night, you were as we went out and we did the brewery hopping. There's still little moments where I see just my buddy Austin. This is friend Austin, my buddy Austin, just coming out. We're laughing and we're just having a good time. And just having a good time. Now there's still underlining personality, like this is who I am, and that's okay. My point is simple. Each one of you can recognize multiple characters that you play. If somebody only knew the one side of Austin and then they saw this other side, they would be like, who are you? What is this? Right? And if you were to play that character for a long period of time, there are people, your parents, people that have known you for a long time would probably look at you and be like, what is going on? Who are you? It's one thing for you to play it for a moment, but if you were to play it for a long period of time, would they be like, whoa, what's going on? Like, what's going on with you? Right? Okay. My point is simple though. What if you fluidly move in and out of these things? Each one of you can recognize multiple characters that you play. You definitely have many roles that you play. We have woman, we have man, we have different roles, sexual roles, sensual roles. We have a lot of societal roles, and these are all roles. They're actually not a real thing. I want you to simply recognize with me right now, husband is not a real thing. It's just an idea. Husband is just an idea. Man and woman is just an idea. Heterosexual, homosexual is just an idea. Introvert, extrovert is just an idea. These are just ideas. It's not who we are. They're just ideas. They're concepts that when we identify in them, now there's a hindrance. If you can recognize the roles that you play, and then now recognize the characters that play those roles, now you're able to more, and you're willingly choosing them, now you're able to start, there's a point where you start to fluidly move through them, and you'll start to add some roles. So next week I'm going to get into molding and what that looks like, and how we can begin to add roles or characters to our repertoire, so to speak. Like we're going to expand our character list. It would be as if you were, picture yourself as, I see your hand, Kevin, I'll come right to you. Picture yourself as this cosmic actor, but you've gotten used to just playing one role type. So you guys know a lot of actors or actresses, but they're only known for playing in comedies. They never play a serious, dramatic role. Or an actor who only plays in action flicks. They don't ever play in like a drama or a romance, right? You understand? And then there are some actors that are capable of playing roles from all genres. I loved Mel Gibson because he could play a lot of different kinds of roles, or Leonardo DiCaprio because he can play a lot of different parts, a lot of different roles, a lot of different characters. Does this make sense to you? In some way, this is exactly what you are. You're a cosmic actor. The problem is you've only played one or two characters through the course of your existence, and so you're kind of gotten stuck in this idea that this is who I am. These are the characters that I play. Molding enables you to begin to, which we'll talk about next week, to add more characters to your repertoire. So now you can begin to add characters. You're learning to play the roles and the parts and that characters. But what's feeding that character, what's empowering those characters and empowering those roles, what's animating them is this cosmic actor, this essence, this pure, unadulterated, free love is animating within these characters. So these characters aren't jacked up. What's animating them is perfect, unconditional love. I'm here with Monica and I'm reminded, I love that she has begun to recognize, she said to me, she said, I've treated you like shit. I've treated you like shit, and yet you have loved me in a way no one ever has. And she said to me, there's no one else like you on this earth. She goes, you have loved me no matter how I've treated you. You are always there for me when I need you. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you will always be there for me. Now, I want so badly to look at her saying, well, there are others. There are others. Like I know that there are others. There are others that know who they are, where they're animating this perfect unconditional love within these various avatars. They're being this expression. They can play many characters, but they're animating in this way. There are others. She's never experienced another one. She's never experienced someone else. She said, there's no one else like you. But how beautiful is it to know that there are? How beautiful is it to know that the various characters that I can animate in various characters within this form, and every single one of these characters are expressing at the end of it, no matter how goofy, no matter how strange, no matter how outlandish, no matter how in your face, no matter how serious, everyone is manifesting as perfect love, perfect unconditional love. Isn't this awesome? Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is, I love it. I love my characters. They're actually my best friends right now.
Yeah, I love them too, man.
That's the kind of the question is that I'm trying to, I really don't know how to think about this when this happens, but right now I'm in this pattern of, and it's been for quite a while that I have been exploring, and I love it. I love the chance to be something out of the box and something different, something I've kind of had on the back burner that I get to do. Yet, I find that it's very, in the instances that I come across, it's very disturbing to others.
Sure.
I've really not had, like you just mentioned, gave me one glimmer of hope. You said they're out there. I hope to find them, not somebody, just somebody. I mean, I'm talking.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about one person specifically for me. I'm just talking about some people to hang with. Period.
Yeah.
Which. So I'm not. I feel like I'm in a good place, but it's very. In the temple realm, it's very weird. It's very.
Sure.
I'm not sure how to perceive it right now, and I think I'm in this pattern where there's something that's transforming me, and I'm to stay and say it's all good, and just keep doing what I'm doing, whether someone else manifests or not. But so far, people are abused by me, but they stay a safe distance away. Especially, I reached out to a lot of gay people, and they find that I'm very different because I'm not in the category. I'm not stereotypical, and I meet some young people. I may be intimate with them, some young guys, sexually intimate with, and really love them, and then the next minute I want to be like. Like a mother or father to them.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be sexual with them, and they have a hard time with that because they don't know how to perceive that. and they don't know how to transition with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what I'm
Yeah.
right now.
So I can tell you so many times I've been there. In the sense that people's perceptions, they immediately try to encapsulate you in the one character, one role. This is who you are to me. And what I'm saying is, and this is like the conversations that I've had with Beth and I've had with other people, and these are people that have come to me and seen me loving someone, whether it's been sexually intimate or not is irrelevant. Some of it has been. Some of it has been more just loving intimately, emotional, and just being loving towards someone. People can see me go up and kiss another man right on the mouth, and they immediately assume that I'm homosexual. Though I'm neither homosexual nor heterosexual. But the point is, they immediately try to encapsulate you in some sort of role. This is who you are. That's the nature of personhood. They always make the judgment. This is how you know you're moving beyond personhood, is when the judgments end. And so, like I've said to Beth, I said the world, in order for the world to see who they are and to be set free, they need to be encountered, even if it's offense that happens by those who are already free. But Kevin, that's the moment when no longer am I asking the question or editing, backspacing, editing, or trying to, I'm paying attention. No, just be, flow. If 1 minute that's lover and the next minute it's mom or dad, it's father or mother figure, that's incredible. There's nothing wrong with that. They might not be able to perceive it or understand what that is. It might even bother them. I've had people run from me because they assumed, especially with women, I've had many women leave classes because in some way I don't know whether they were attracted and they didn't think they should be, or they thought something was going to happen, or the way that I was expressing love was inappropriate societally, and I wasn't thinking anything. I was just being present in the moment and enjoying and being with somebody. I wasn't thinking one way or the other. I had no agenda. I wasn't trying to make something happen on any front, and yet seeing people leave classes over this sort of thing because they don't know how to handle, okay, he's a teacher 1 minute, and the next minute he can be something else. This is the reason why, societally speaking, they say you can't be friends with the same people you teach. This is the reason why so many people, as soon as they become Silas, they see Silas as a teacher, they start to hang out, they become friends with Silas, and then they can no longer see Silas as a teacher. And so they'd rather listen to somebody that they don't know, that they don't have an intimate relationship with, and let them speak into their life, rather than let somebody that they do know, because now I can't honor him as teacher because I'm just seeing him as a friend. I've seen him goofy and being silly and being ridiculous, so I can't honor him I can't take him serious anymore. That's the nature of personhood. Everything that I'm about is unveiling who we are beyond that personhood. And in order to do so, I can't just manifest in one. I'm not going to ever just take on or embody one manifestation. Does it make sense? Because now what I'm doing is I'm imprisoning myself to try to set you free. That doesn't work. I can't imprison myself to bring freedom to the masses. Instead, there has to be complete free fluidity, complete freedom. And freedom's not even a good word to use here, because as soon as we think of freedom, we think of bondage. In order to be free, you first have to be in bondage. I'm talking about the kind of freedom, I'm just talking about limitless. I'm talking about no limitations, no inhibitions. I'm talking about just full-on freedom in a singular sense of the word. Right?
Exactly. I'm not going to compromise.
Exactly.
I'm not going to turn back, regardless.
Yeah.
I don't second guess I don't replay my incident.
Yeah.
If I do, I say, oh, that was great. Whatever I did was great.
Yeah.
I don't say I needed to do something different.
Yeah.
I said it was perfect.
Uh-huh.
And so I love deeply. It just seems to be a multiple universal thing, but not a one.
Yeah.
One thing.
I understand.
And I'm open to that. But I have to just keep loving.
Yep.
And let the universe take its course.
Yeah.
And not go back, because I think a lot of people do go back because.
Oh, absolutely. It's easier.
They can't handle it. They can't handle.
It's easier.
It, and
Yep.
I said, yeah, it's easier. But this is so much more. This is so much better, you know. It's
Absolutely.
so much more real. It's more chance to live, truly live,
Yeah.
and not be filled up. It's
Yeah.
one thing.
There's nothing more fake than believing you are the facade, that you are the person. There's nothing more fake than believing that this one personality, this is who I am, instead of because you don't recognize the actor that's behind the scenes. You can only be truly real when you realize that you are the cosmic actor that's manifesting as these persons, as these roles. Now I'm real because I know who I am beyond it. But if I believe this is who I am ultra spiritual Silas, that's just ego bullshit. I'm ultra spiritual Silas, you need to listen to me. I'm going to speak and use a language that sounds really mystical to bring you in. Or I'm theologian Silas, or I'm going to quote the Bible scriptures and tell you the context in which you must learn them. Or I'm lover Silas, and I'm going to stare deeply into your eyes and captivate you with my God-likeness. Or I'm, whatever. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. It's completely egotistical to think of yourself in terms of one person. This is who I am, instead of what we're realizing is that you're the cosmic actor that's animating this embodiment, that is animating this avatar. It's what we call the incarnation, God in the flesh. And this is marvelous. And God is not limited by one personality or one role or one character. No, he's moving, flowing and moving freely right now in billions of characters all over the universe. And this is marvelous. We're just consciously aware of this one that is fluidly flowing in consciousness through this one avatar. But that doesn't change the fact that the essence is one. Spirit is one. There's one spirit, not many. One spirit manifesting in many unique forms. And so this is where it comes in. The more that you awaken, the more you play. And the more of those that awaken to this and are just playing, manifesting unconditional love and playing within that realm and enjoying it, no matter how much society and our culture doesn't understand it, they see it and they ultimately want that sort of freedom. They want that sort of joy. They want to live in the joy of this character shape shifting and yet not be bound up like on these emotional roller coasters of personhood. The emotional roller coaster comes because you're identifying as the person or the character that you're playing. When you realize you're the cosmic actor and somebody talks down to that character that you're playing, you're not mad. You realize you're not the character. When they say, Silas, you're not a very spiritual man. Okay, I don't care what you think about that. Like, it doesn't matter to me because I'm not identified as a spiritual guru. Some people look at Silas as guru. That's just a character I play. Life Artistry School is all about, like when we do sat songs, I'm more serious. It's still just a character I play. Life Artistry School, I'm a little bit more loose. It's just a character I'm playing. And I'm having a blast doing it. Can y'all see that? I enjoy the shit out of this thing. I have a blast. I love loving people, man. But at the end of the day, you know what you and I are? We're perfect love. Manifesting in a body. And every character, every role that you play should be that expression of perfect love. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. The manifestation of that perfect love. So next week, now I want you to simply recognize this week as you go, a little bit of homework, is just pay attention to the fluid movement in and out of roles that you play. The difference of waiter Austin and engineer Austin. Pay attention to that. Notice the difference in character. And then maybe I want you to maybe hype up those characters a bit. When you're engineer Austin, really get into that character. And when you're waiter Austin or friend Austin, really get into that character. Or lover Austin, really get into those characters and let that perfect unconditional love really animate the body in that moment. Within those different roles. So don't just kind of go into those roles half-heartedly, but play them to their fullest. Really get into it. Consciously get into it. And then next week when we get into molding, I'm going to actually talk to you about adding characters to the repertoire. And then the week after that, we're going to get into sculpting, which is something that I actually don't know that I've never heard of anybody doing other than myself. So we'll get into that. But next week we're going to molding. I'm going to have a lot of fun going into that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I simply want to leave you with this. A spiritual man is like unto the wind. If you're not fluidly flowing, if you are locking yourself down in one role or character, you're not like unto the wind. Right? Right, Kaylee? Right? Yeah? So, she's doing a little booby shake, a little dance, a little jig. Yeah, work it, girl. Work it. So, any thoughts or questions before we wrap up?
Oh, Lordy.
There's so few of you tonight, man. I don't know what happened. I'm running people off, I guess. I don't know what's going on. I mean, this is crazy. Any thoughts or questions? People don't know.
I think
Go ahead, Kaylee.
that everyone that's here right now are people who might actually be aware of what they're looking for.
Okay, good. Yeah, I love the people that are here. I'm so glad you guys are here. It wasn't an insult on you guys at all. I found it, Austin and I were like 10 after, and it was only Kevin and Austin and I was like, what is going on? It's wild tonight. It's all good. Like, it's beautiful. I don't care if it's just one person. If it's just me and Austin, I'll do it. If it's just me and you, Kaylee. We're going to have fun. I'm going to pour myself out like a drink offering, and you're going to drink this deliciousness that is Silas, the essence of Silas.
Yeah.
Yeah, girl. So, well, I didn't mean for it to be quite so sexual, but that's okay. Yeah, so we're gonna have a lot of fun. Austin has done. Check out the Ekstasis Institute website, guys. Austin's been working on the website. We got some things that he's still working on. It's still under construction, but he's done a marvelous job with it. It's beautiful. It's looking really good. If you send people to the website now, there's actually opportunities for them. We're offering free sat songs, and so all they gotta do is punch in their name and email, and then they're gonna get an email from us. It's actually gonna be automated very soon. That will so that they can, on September 1st, when we start this free sat song, so that they can come and join in. And then there's sign-ups for the mindfulness classes. Now, every single not one of you needs to do this because you're already a part. If you're a partner and you're already a part of the school, you don't need to do this. I'm just telling you this in case you want to send it to a friend or whatever. And then there's also the mentorship page. So everything's set up there. If you want to start introducing your friends and family to it and letting them know new classes are beginning in September, that's awesome. All of that's there at the website. But check it out one way or another, whether you're going to send anybody there or not. The other thing I'm going to say is a few of you guys are sending in testimonials of your time at Ekstasis Institute, of what you've learned or just your experience. So I want to encourage, if you haven't done that, I want to encourage you to send. I don't even care if it's just this short. I don't care if it's just 2 or 3 sentences like "this rocks." That's fine if that's what you want to send. Classes at Ekstasis Institute are awesome, or Silas is the sexiest teacher that I've learned from. Like, that's great. Send those in, like he looks like Fabio on, wonderful. Send those in. Like, we'll put them on the website. So I'm just kind of playing around, but I really would love to hear from you guys, and we're going to throw them on the website so that people kind of know what they're looking for. We want to really present something. I believe that what Ekstasis Institute offers is unlike anything else. It really is unlike anything else, because there's not just one flavor here. There is so many flavors that you're going to get, because I'm not locked into one character. And you're going to get a lot of different flavors, but it's all going to be from the divine essence that is perfect, unconditional love. And that's what it's all about. So please send those in, and join us next week. Let the people know that weren't here that you missed them. Let them know that they were missed. And join us next week on Sunday. We'll get into the molding. Is there anyone else, any other questions or comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, where are you at?
I am I'm off a location. I'm actually in Roanoke. I was visiting with a young lady I run over with a car tonight.
Because everything it's like you're talking, and it's like what can I say? It's like It comes, it's really like blurry.
Oh, really? The audio is?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's because I'm using 4G, so I'm not on location. I'm just on the 4G network, and I'm using my little iPad here, so it's completely different. Is everybody experiencing that? Is it blurry for everybody, the audio? It's a little bit. So some of you are, yeah. So some of you are experiencing that,
but not that bad.
yeah. So some of you are experiencing that, some of you aren't. Huh?
No, I can hear you. I can hear your voice is just behind your video. They're not in sync. Your voice.
Yeah,
is
that's because
behind you.
that's because it's 4G. I'm not on Wi-Fi. That's why. So I'm in Roanoke.
I still hear you.
Yeah, I'm in Roanoke visiting with that lady my friend who had gotten run over by a car last week. So hopefully she's going to be being discharged tomorrow. And so I came to spend time with her and be with her. And I knew that it would cause some problems with the classes tonight. That's why we're only doing this class, and we're not going to do the mentorship next because I'm going to go spend time with her. But that's also why you guys love me so much, because I'm not going to let classes ruin my expression of love to somebody else that needs it. So anyway, that's why I'm here in Mali. I'm in the van, and you're seeing me here, and Austin's there. But the recordings will be better. They'll be clear because the audio is still being recorded on this mic. Go ahead, Austin.
Oh, I was just waving hi because you said my name.
Oh. So yeah, well, the recordings and everything will be good. The audio will be much better because I'm still recording it here via the mic on a separate audio. So if you want to listen to the recordings, you can. I know Charlotte and Rick, you guys popped in late, so the recordings will be available to you. Any other questions or comments before I wrap up? Last call. No? We're good to go? Okay. Well, next week we'll get into molding. We're gonna expand the repertoire. We're gonna recognize our cosmic actor a little bit more, and start playing with some characters a bit more. So it'll be fun. I think that'll be a lot of fun next week. It'll be a joyous time. So if I don't talk to you before, I'll see you then. For those in the